On May 24, 2010, 800 soldiers and 300 police officers stormed their way into Tivoli Gardens, an impoverished district in the capital of Jamaica. Their aim was to restore state authority in this part of Kingston and apprehend Christopher Dudus, who was suspected of being the leader of the Shower Posse. The US authority wanted him extradited to the United States on charges of drugs and arms trafficking. The incursion was the culmination of 9 months of national political turmoil. The first aim was achieved, but at great cost. The second was not, for around 70 civilians and 3 members of the security forces were killed. Curiously, however, the media largely ignored the CIA's role in training, arming, and empowering the Shower Posse. So in this video, we're gonna take a look at the CIA's involvement in the destabilization of Jamaica in the 70s and 80s. This, however, is a sensitive topic and not one that I can cover in a single video, so I will leave links to the sources below. The information presented in this video is derived from the classified documents or publicly available information on the internet. Elite Jamaica is an independent entity and is not affiliated with any party mentioned or involved in this video. While we strive to provide accurate and reliable information, we cannot guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the content. So viewers are encouraged to independently verify the information and exercise their own judgment. Elite Jamaica will not be held responsible for any actions taken or decisions made based on the information provided in this video or through links included.
There is no question that there was a sustained and painfully effective destabilization process to which Jamaica was subject in the latter part of 1975 and increasingly in 1976. For example, things like this would happen. It would be known that some famous syndicated columnist of the United States was going to come to spend a week resting in some villa. And mysteriously, the first night he's there, gunmen would arrive and start firing guns round and round his villa. Nobody would be hurt. By the next morning, he's in a state of terror. He flies home, and 79 newspapers across America read the story of the violent, terrible society disintegrating with gunmen the next morning. So you get the next few thousand tourist cancellations. That's the simplest example I can give. That happened.
Why would the CIA, you might ask, why would the CIA want to murder 150 old women? It was because it was an effort, part of a very large-scale effort to discredit the government in Jamaica, which was at the time headed by Michael Manley, the Prime Minister. Nixon instructed the CIA in a meeting, which was in 1970 in the White House, and there was a document in the Senate report, which is reprinted, and he said, make the economy scream. Those were his words. And that's, of course, what the CIA proceeded to do in Chile, and that's what they also did in Jamaica.
Well, a lot of munitions and assistance to the terrorist squads that were going around killing people in the cities and also in the countryside in Jamaica as well.
That's correct.
It is noteworthy, given that the CIA was accused of smuggling guns in Jamaica and facilitating the cocaine trade between Jamaica and America in the 70s and 80s. It is further interesting then that the USA should have issued an extradition order for Mr. Coke for crimes of drugs and gun trafficking. At the time, Mr. Coke was the suspected leader of the Shower Posse, a role the American government and the CIA allegedly played a major part in. So in many ways, Dudus was only carrying on the blueprint of political corruption, alleged drug running, gun running, and violence that was first introduced to Jamaica with the help of the USA and its CIA arm. Christopher Dudus Coke, adopted father, was Lester Lloyd Coke, also known as Jim Brown. He was one of the founders of the Shower Posse and a fellow champion and protector of the impoverished Tivoli Gardens neighborhood in Kingston. Jim Brown was a political enforcer and bodyguard to Edward Seaga, the former leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. Seaga's opponent, Michael Manley, had begun leaning towards socialism, adopting socialist ideas and openly criticizing American foreign policies. He further had meetings with the United States enemy, Fidel Castro, in the 1970s.
They are not angering the United States of America, they are angering themselves. I'm not going to tell me what relationship I have with Fidel Castro. We have that friendship with Cuba as part of a world alliance.
Given the Cold War between the US and Russia for decades, the CIA did not take kindly to Jamaica, a country situated on their doorsteps, so to speak, being friendly with communist Cuba. According to Gary Webb's book, The Dark Alliance, Norman Descote, the CIA station chief in Jamaica, began a destabilization program of the Manley government in the late 70s. A part of that plan was assassinations, money for the Jamaica Labour Party, labor unrest, bribery, and shipping weapons to Manley's opponents such as Jim Brown. Author Darius Figueroa writes in his book titled Cocaine and Heroin Trafficking in the Caribbean, quote, "In fact, it meant that illicit drug runners linked to the JLP were integrated into a CIA-linked illicit drugs, guns, and criminal trafficking pipeline," end quote. Former CIA agent Philip Agee said, quote, "The CIA was using the JLP as its instrument in the campaign against the Michael Manley government. I would say most of the violence was coming from the JLP, and behind them was the CIA in terms of getting weapons and money in," end quote. One of Lester Coke's associates, Cecil Connor, would claim that he was trained by the CIA to fight political wars for the JLP through killing and spying. Connor would stuff ballot boxes and intimidate voters to help the JLP win elections. Connor would go on from being a political thug to being part of the international Jamaican-based cocaine ring, known as the Shower Posse. He wound up testifying against Lester Coke and his cohort Vivian Blake, only to return to his native St. Kitts to become a drug kingpin who almost held the country hostage. Christopher Coke's adopted father, Lester Lloyd Coke, has also been accused of working with the CIA. Timothy White speculates in his biography of Bob Marley, titled Catch a Fire, that Jim Brown was part of a team of armed gunmen that attempted to assassinate Bob Marley, led by JLP enforcer Carl Bayer Mitchell. Authors Larry Gunst and Vivian Goldman also make the same assertions in their books, Born for Dead and The Book of Exodus. Marley's manager, Don Taylor, claims that one of Marley's attackers were captured and admitted that the CIA had agreed to pay him in cocaine and the guns to kill Marley. Lester Coke would later burn to death in a Jamaican jail cell while awaiting extradition to the United States. Many people have claimed that he was killed to prevent him revealing secrets dealing with the CIA, JLP, and other criminal elements. In its efforts to destabilize the Jamaican government in the 1970s, the CIA created a monster, a group of drug-dealing, gun-running political criminals. Through the cocaine trade, these criminals would eventually become more powerful than the politicians they were connected to. The CIA destabilization program did not only destabilize Jamaica in the 70s, but it destabilized Jamaica for over the next 40 years.
Mr. Manley's association with Fidel Castro may be one of the prime reasons that many bankers have turned down his request for the borrowing capacity for Jamaica, why their tourism is at a low ebb, why the economy is on the brink of disaster. These are the prices sometimes people have to pay for their association with the wrong people.
Manley's ultimate aim is to take Jamaica into the Cuban orbit and to transform the society into a Cuban-type society.
In the closing days of the Ford administration, Kissinger had become almost manic about obliterating Manley, getting rid of Manley.
Our impression is that the CIA had a hand in what happened in 1976. That was our information. Well, in the way, for instance, that they would have done in Chile. Nobody denies it in Chile, it's always denied in Chile.
Given the secrecy of both CIA and Jamaican society, it is unclear exactly what the CIA's role was in creating the Shower Posse. Did they really supply them with guns? Were they given cocaine? Were they trained in drug smuggling? Did the CIA really use the Shower Posse to try to kill Bob Marley? These are all questions that the CIA should answer. If what is alleged concerning the CIA is true, then they are in part responsible for the cycle of gun trafficking, gun smuggling, and violence that has plagued Jamaica today. If the US can extradite the son of one of CIA's political enforcers for trafficking guns and cocaine, shouldn't the CIA be investigated for training Jamaicans how to conduct political warfare, arming them, supplying them cocaine, and helping them to traffic it? Given the revelation that the CIA allowed Nicaraguan drug dealers to sell cocaine in the US to fund their revolution against their communist government, it is not that far-fetched to believe that they would arm Jamaicans with deadly weapons and supply them cocaine to fight possible communism in Jamaica. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching.